Howdy, I'm known as Dimwit, last mountain man, feared throughout the land. And you probably didn't expect to see me with something like this, but I think this could be useful if I find myself in a target-rich environment. And this is a Mossberg model 190 KA. It's a 16 gauge shotgun. It's made in mid to late 1950s, I think, and it's been modified quite a bit. Obviously the magazine's been lengthened, and we'll talk more about that, but there's also a lot of other things that have been done to this gun. But now, even though this is a modern gun, I will shoot black powder with it. And you've seen maybe on my video when I load these brass cartridges, and that's what we're going to use. When I showed you how to load these, I talked about how I'd pour melted beeswax down in here to keep it all in place. And one thing I should have pointed out is when you pour that melted wax down in there, you need to tilt the cartridge over like that and kind of roll it around and let that melted beeswax run up on the edges inside here when it hardens. Because if you just leave it level like that, and then this wax hardens, it shrinks, and then it loses kind of the grip on the surface of the inside of the cartridge, and that defeats the purpose. So important, roll it around like that, let that wax get up there on the edges. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll put one in the chamber. And before I forget, I'll put my protector glasses on. Okay. Like that. Okay, I kind of got tangled up in there. I've been dry feeding this a lot of times, never had any problems. Of course, it had to happen now when I do it in front of you guys. Oh, it got hot. So, let's see. What did I do to this gun? Of course, it can still be used to fire smokeless powder, but it's been altered to fire these brass shells, and that was not easy. The shells would kind of get jammed up in top here on their way up from the magazine, so I had to shorten them a little bit, and also the rim would catch on the front end of the next cartridge when I'd open the action. And the reason for that is there's a shallow groove underneath the bolt here, and it has to be that way to clear the trigger assembly. And the way these were originally made, you can just push the trigger in and you can pull the bolt all the way out for cleaning purposes and stuff like that. And but you can't do that anymore now, because I had to kind of weld a little bit underneath here in that groove, and that and file it down nice and smooth. And now the rim doesn't catch on the mouth of the next cartridge. And of course, the price I have to pay for that is to get my screwdrivers out when I clean the gun. There's one screw underneath here that has to be removed, and then the whole action lifts out of the stock. And then there's a pin that needs to be drifted out to get the trigger assembly out, and then you can pull the bolt out. So it's no big deal, but it's the only way to get it to work with the brass cartridges. And it was more of a challenge to make this magazine than I thought it would be. This is the original part on top here, a 2-shot magazine, and I had some sort of a light machine gun magazine of some kind that I cut up and welded together and created this. And but because of these cartridges are rimmed, the magazine should really have a kind of a bend to it. And it was a challenge to get all the cartridges to feed, because the angle in which the cartridge sits up here changes depending on how many rounds it has underneath of it. So I was just barely able to make this work. I had to make kind of a ramp on the upper part of the magazine here, and so it was quite a struggle, but that's what I did. And I don't know what happened when I got tangled up there at one time, but and then what else did I do? If you search for Mossberg 190 KA on YouTube, you will find shotguns that still have their original appearance. And you will see that they have longer barrels and they have this adjustable choke. I shortened the barrel and installed a new front sight, so I don't have any choke, but I'm going to use this for round ball, buck and ball, buckshot or birdshot on close ranges. And I have some ways to keep it from spreading as bad without a choke, and we'll make a video about that some other time. And when you look at these Mossbergs, they look different on the front end of the wood here. You know how some rifles have what they call a schnabel forend. It goes out in this kind of lump on the end here, and this had something like that, but it looked terrible. It was like the boss at the Mossberg factory told the stock making guy that we were going to make a schnabel forend on this shotgun, and the stock making guy never heard of such a thing, and he asked, "What's that?" And it just goes into a kind of a lump on the end. I said, "Yeah, okay, I can do that," and he did, and it looked like shit. And so I shortened it, I suppose about an inch, and I changed the shape of it, and it looks much better now. And I had to refinish the whole stock because once you change it, it was difficult to match the finish of it. And then the recoil rubber pad here was kind of torn to pieces, and it was damaged from sitting for years on like that. This, you know, this is not good for rubber recoil butt pads. And another thing, this part here, the trigger guard assembly that runs down here in the pistol grip, that's made out of plastic, and that had finger grooves, and it had a kind of a seam from the casting of the plastic that run all the way through it like that, and it looked terrible. So I grinded it down and kept using finer and finer sandpaper, and I waxed it at the end, and now it looks much better, and it looks almost like steel, but it's not. But it looks a lot better than it did. So and this rare sight was just flat on top, and so I made a V groove down in there. So one of these days I'm gonna have to test this gun on paper with round balls and see if I have to change my front sight height a little bit. It's pretty high right now. So that's what I did to it, and it was more work than I thought it would be. But it's kind of a cool gun. I think it's kind of badass in an old school kind of way, just like me. So I have several videos of interesting shotguns if that's what you're into, and most of them are older than this, but check out my channel and take a look, and go ahead and click on like and comment and subscribe and all that stuff. And okay, cool gun. See you later. Oh, one thing, we're at my new location, and let me see here. Let me show you. This here is my that's my 50-yard headshot that I've been talking about. It's 25 centimeter steel gong, or that's 9 3/4 of an inch, and there's a frame to when I want to shoot on targets. And then on top of my mountain here, that's my cabin, and you'll get to see more of that in future videos. It turned out to be quite rotten in places, so we got a lot of work to do up there, but some have said that I'm not really a mountain man, but I actually own the top of a small mountain, so I'm a mountain man. Okay, so I'll go over there to that 50-yard headshot so you can see how large it is. Now, that's a head-sized target, isn't it? Okay. Oh. Okay. Take care.